move on now to session 4, and I'm delighted we've got Sarah Jenkins, Editor-in-Chief of Horse and Hound, to chair this session, which is a revved up bit of what we always used to call topical slots. They're now called bite-sized topics and what you want to know about. So, Sarah, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tim. So yes, I'm here to introduce this afternoon's bite-sized sessions, topics that are described as interesting subjects you'll want to know more about. And as someone who spends a lot of time looking at what drives people to Horse and Hound's website, I know that this is definitely true. And the issues you're going to hear about shortly are certainly ones that our readership, our users are very much interested in knowing more about. Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me here today to present these fantastic speakers on International Women's Day. It's apt that all four are female. It's also World Book Day, but we've left our Hermione Granger outfits at home. I need to explain that there's no Q&A for this session, but you please feel free to put your questions onto Slido, and what will happen is the best will be answered by the experts in the coming week. So look out for that. If you're watching on Clip My Horse, you need, as before, to scan the QR code on the screen. With no further ado, please can I introduce our first speaker, Abbie Bevan, Insight and Research Manager at British Equestrian. And of course, as people involved with horses, we all completely understand the power of horses, the social value of horses, but this is something that Abbie is brilliantly now putting a number on, which will be super helpful as we look to move forward as an industry.
Thank you. Hiya, Your Royal Highness, everyone in the room and everyone online. Thank you very much for having me here today. So yes, I'm going to talk about a project that I've been leading on at British Equestrian. It's called The Power of Horses, Equestrian Social Value. So before we kind of get stuck into the detail, I just wanted to ask everyone a couple of questions. So you can do this on Slido, or you can have this kind of in your head, or those online, I think there's a QR code that you can scan. So first of all, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your life overall? Now, out of this life satisfaction score that you've just given yourself, how much of that comes from your interaction with horses or equestrian activities as well? Then think, how much money would someone have to pay you to never engage in the equestrian sector ever again? Like, never. So feel free to kind of answer those questions as I go along, have a little think, and it will all come to light as I go along. So what is social value? So this has been a 2-phase project that we've done, and I've been lucky enough to work with some amazing researchers on this. So social value is made up of 5 outcome areas. It's like 5 stuffs, basically. And we focus on the top 4. Now, the 5th one, the economic development, we didn't cover this not because we don't care, but because actually BETA has already covered this in the National Equestrian Survey. So we already know that the equestrian sector is worth $5 billion to the UK economy. So therefore, we focus on the others. So the first phase, we did a literature review where we basically found over 600 pieces of research proving that equestrian activities deliver all of these. So when we talk about physical and mental health, what do we mean? So the 2 areas in red there, injury and illness, these are basically in red because they negatively impact, so we have to take that into account. So these proxy our numbers. We then also have those bottom 3 areas there, PTSD, substance abuse, anxiety and depression. Now these are areas that our researchers, they've done this for multiple different sports, right? But they saw this as our superpowers. They've never seen this research come out so strongly in other sports, so we take that as a big win. When I talk about subjective well-being, we're talking about reduced stress, increased life satisfaction, and increase of your quality of life. So when we think about well-being, this is what we calculated. So when I talk about our figures, that 1.2 billion, this is where it comes from. So when I asked you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your life? And the answers are, there we go. Okay, so 8. So actually, the room is fairly, on those online, fairly satisfied with your life. You know, we're actually saying we're a bit higher. I'm quite glad no one's put 1 today, so that's great. Anyway, we've lost the slides. That's all right. Well, I'll go on to the next area. So the other area was individual development. So when we talk about individual development, the two areas I wanted to talk about was the education area. So when we say education, sometimes this is the fact that you might engage in equestrian activities outside of school, and this improves your education aspect. So you might be better at attainment at school, but you might also just be a bit more motivated. But it also covers areas like, for example, the BHS Changing Lives of the Horses. So these alternative provisions that basically give an environment for people who don't fit in mainstream because they need additional needs or it just doesn't suit them. We're giving them places where they can flourish and develop. Then, when we also pair this with the idea that actually it increases your employability prospects, you're then sitting in a situation where actually we are the second largest rural employer. That's huge. That's a really big story to tell. The opportunities, therefore, for people in equestrian is great. We then look at the fourth and final area of social value that I'll cover is the community development. So all you have to do is walk into a livery yard or a riding school and you see this. The cross-generational friendships. I know my best friend at my old riding school was a 78-year-old lady. It was great. You don't get that always in other places or other sports. And when you've got a society that's becoming more and more divided, we need those connections. We need that friendship. We need people talking and challenging each other. So it's a great place to be and it reduces loneliness. So when we say this, we're basically saying we all come together around the horse. I don't know if the other slide's going to go. Okay, there we go. That's fine. So when we talk about the... Oh, they're going all over the place. I promise I'm house trained. So when we asked you earlier about how much money would someone need to pay you to completely stop all your engagement with horses. And yeah, this was a gamble. I'm really glad everyone played along. So no money, because it is priceless. And when we look at this, and it really does sort of say that, you know, it sounds a bit crass for me to stand here and tell you how much your horses are worth to you. But actually, this is what they do in health sector. They do something called quali. We're doing well-being, because we're focusing on your well-being. And it's a way for us to speak to government, it's a way for us to kind of speak to those people who don't see all these benefits that everyone in this room get to see on a daily basis. So sometimes money talks, and you kind of have to put it in a language that they will get, and that is in pounds and pence. So hence why we've done it this way. So let's go back to that figure that we sort of had earlier on this morning, and the equestrian sector is 1.2 billion. Now, this is a baseline. This is based on the data that we have here and now, and we're wanting to build on this, and we're getting better at collecting data. So we can split this off into the different levels of participation. So you've got on the horse, you've got off the horse, you've also got volunteering. We also split this down into adult, young person, etc. A kind of supplement finding to this was also that when Sport England look at, and government look at people who are inactive and who get the most amount of social value, they've identified 5 groups. 4 out of 5 of those groups, we perform better or on par with other sports. And that's in women and girls, older age groups, disability in those with long-term health conditions, but also lower socioeconomic groups. We're not niche. We're not, you know, this rich sport that everyone puts us in this box. So that was a really powerful finding, and this comes out in those individual numbers there, about 2,000, 3,500, etc. There's also £150 there. That £150 is per adult, and that's savings to the wider society. So think about your NHS. So horse riding, you're saving the NHS. And at the bottom figure there is you've got riding schools are estimated to be 25% of our overall figures. This is because the mass majority, that 25% are all going through riding schools. The mass majority of people coming into the equestrian sector often go to a riding school. So this is a huge figure that we're basically able to say that your average riding school is worth £292,000 of social value per year. So what? I've just chatted at you for about 8 minutes. Riding schools are closing and our facilities are struggling. I know Cheryl's going to tell you later about livery yards, but we're worth 1.2 billion in Welby. Every time a riding school closes, we lose £292,000 of social value. And that's really sad. Now, I mentioned that we kind of did this in 2 phases. We did that literature review, we did the calculation, we've now just started phase 3. Phase 3, we're going to be moving into how we better use these findings to advocate for the equestrian sector, because we need to stop this happening. We need to protect our ecosystem, and we need to make sure that everyone in here works together for that. So we want to work with you. I know last year Ed mentioned in his talk about equine assisted services and about how we can be part of the solution to government problems. And I echo this. Who needs Bob the Builder when you've got ponies to fix it? So everyone, please walk away today and talk about the benefits of ponies and the benefits of the equestrian sector, as well as making sure that we can power through and develop and keep us safe to keep riding schools talking and being present in society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abbie. That is fantastic work, and I'm very much looking forward to getting my next horse on prescription. When I get that horse, I will be obviously concerned about their well-being, and a major issue for horse owners today is the impact of fireworks. Our next presentation is from Helen Whitelegg, who's been doing some fantastic work as Campaigns and Policy Manager at Redwings Horse Sanctuary. She's tackling the F word, campaigning to protect horses from fireworks.
Thank you. Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Debates around fireworks are diverse and wide-ranging, and they extend far beyond equine welfare. The Keep Horses in Mind campaign is working to ensure that horses are fully considered as part of those debates. We want more people to be aware of how vulnerable horses can be to fireworks and to help the voices of horse owners to be heard. Redwings is one of those owners ourselves. 3 of our sanctuary residents have lost their lives to fireworks. We've had a fire caused by a stray firework at one of our centres, and we spend over £1,000 every autumn just trying to protect our herds from the potential impact of bonfire night fireworks. Whenever we talked about fireworks publicly, we had an incredible response of solidarity, not just from our own supporters, but from across the wider equestrian sector. And it really confirmed to us that there is value and need in having a campaign upon this issue. One of the first questions we needed to ask was whether new regulation is needed or whether it's a question of better enforcement of existing regulation. We knew that restrictions in Ireland are already very tight, and we welcome the introduction of new regulation in Scotland in 2022. But in relation to England and Wales, whenever questions were asked, ministers tended to push back by referencing the Animal Welfare Act as a potential mechanism by which people could be held to account when animals had suffered inadvertently because of fireworks. And having worked with the Act for nearly 20 years since it was introduced, the team at Redwings were not convinced that this was a viable route to protecting horses. So in 2024, we held a roundtable of experts that included barristers, vets, local authority inspectors, police officers, all with experience of working with the Animal Welfare Act to try and explore this issue in more detail. After a great deal of discussion, the group unanimously concluded that the Act is not designed to be used in this way and is not an effective safety net to protect animals other than those that are deliberately targeted through cruelty. You can see here the response of a barrister who'd been working with the Act for over 20 years, and the report looking at the reasoning behind that decision is available on our website. We also wanted to address the gap in data around the issue, which again is something that was used as a reason not to progress the issue at a political level. Just over a year ago, we ran a survey of UK adult horse owners, and we received over 5,000 complete responses in under 5 weeks, which I think says something in itself about the resonance of this issue with people. We gathered a huge amount of data which shed really useful, really useful insights onto both the scale and the severity of the effect fireworks can have on horses. It's important to say that not every respondent was concerned about this issue or did feel that tighter regulation was needed, but a clear majority were. More than 2/3 had had first-hand experience of fireworks affecting their own horse, and almost half of that had been on more than one occasion. There was clear evidence of people being genuinely worried about the issue, taking steps to reduce the fireworks risk, and clear support for tighter regulation. Over 90% felt that low noise fireworks would benefit horse welfare because noise itself was deemed to be the most concerning element of fireworks on the horses that they cared about. Again, the survey report is available on our website, and it's worth reading just for some of the open text comments that were shared, to be honest. It's not just horses that are affected directly by fireworks, but it's the people around them. We know that frightened horses can be dangerous horses, and our survey found that of the incidents that were reported to us, 10% of incidents involved an injury to at least one person. And data from the British Horse Society shows that figure to be even higher. I'm just going to play you a very short video taken from a stable camera in 2020. There is no noise, but as the video starts, a very loud firework goes off next door. The horse in question that you can see there was not hurt, but Claire, the owner, lives with long-term damage to her shoulder 5 years later because of that. And I think that says something about how very quickly bad things can happen when fireworks are let off. Injury isn't the only risk that owners face as well. Dealing with fireworks obviously usually involves time, money, stress. There is also the potential for personal devastation should a horse suffer a life-changing injury or even lose their life. We know that people go to great lengths to try and protect their horses. People talk about taking time off work, rearranging shifts, cancelling social engagements and staying at home for weeks on end around bonfire night because they are concerned. They just want to be there should something happen. Owners have told us about putting their lives on hold for weeks, but also driving around in horse boxes, taking their horse away from the yard, even moving yards just for those weeks. But we know that there is a limit to what owners can practically do to protect their horses, which is why the focus is not on the horses and the owners. It needs to be on the fireworks themselves to try and address this issue. We also have to bear in mind that frightened horses can become loose, and a loose horse on a road has potentially serious implications as well. So in September, we launched our petition asking for the maximum noise level of fireworks to be reduced, effectively making fireworks that are available to the general public low noise, not silent, low noise. Coincidentally, that petition closed yesterday, and our final petition total was 184,376 signatures, and I'd like to thank everybody who signed and shared to help us reach that fantastic total. Some of the content that we shared in order to promote that petition online received unprecedented levels of interaction, and I do need to acknowledge the team at Redwings who dealt with literally thousands of social media comments. Not all of those comments were sympathetic or even polite. Fireworks is a divisive issue, and many people have opinions across the whole spectrum that we need to understand and acknowledge if we are to expect them to appreciate and understand our perspective alongside. Redwings does fully appreciate the part that fireworks play in social and traditional celebrations, cultural events. We don't position ourselves as anti-firework. We simply feel that currently too high a price is paid by people and animals for the enjoyment that they bring. And we believe that by simply reducing the noise level, we can achieve a more practical compromise that might see the balance between allowing those who enjoy fireworks to do so while protecting the people and the animals who don't. The petition achieved the £100,000 signature milestone that was needed to make it eligible for parliamentary debate in less than 2 months. And we were delighted that the petition was one of 2 that was debated in Westminster in January. It was an incredibly well-attended debate. More than 58 MPs contributed, and every statement that was made was in support of review and an overhaul of current regulations. The lack of commitment to a timeline currently was clearly a source of frustration to many of the MPs who attend these debates on what seems like an annual basis, as well as tabling parliamentary questions and putting forward private members' bills and other things to keep this topic on the political agenda. However, we were gratified that the Minister expressed her willingness to meet with myself and the other petitioner, and we're waiting to have that meeting confirmed. We're also continuing to engage with MPs and find other ways to keep this topic alive as it deserves to be. It was very gratifying to hear the Minister this morning allude to the positive engagement that DEFRA has made with the Department for Business and Trade in order to progress this issue. I just need to mention as well that as well as campaigning as an individual organisation, Redwings is an active member of the Fireworks Impact Coalition. This is a group of currently 19 human and animal organisations. You can see the logos showing a really diverse range of issues there, from the British Veterinary Association to Dogs Trust Cats Protection, Combat Stress, PTSD UK, Help for Heroes, Assistance Dogs. The list of impacts that fireworks can have socially is lengthy. It not only allows us to share information and resources in order to pursue our own campaign goals, but it does give us that broader picture, and it places the issues of equine welfare in the wider context of the much wider concerns that there are around fireworks. Just to finish, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who has made the last 18 months something of a roller coaster for a new campaign, where the petition is far from being the end. It is merely the beginning of our efforts to keep progressing this issue and secure the change that we strongly feel is needed. It also shows, I think, very clearly that the actions of individuals can add up to something that really do make a difference and allow our voices as equestrians to be heard. Please do get involved. There's more information on our website. These are just some of the ways that you can add your support to the campaign, to the issue, and I do hope that we will be able to update you with positive news in the future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Helen, and fantastic to see progress being made, and as you say, hopefully back here next year to show even more progress. Our next presenter is Sally Foskett, Rehoming Operations Manager and National Horse Service Lead at the Blue Cross, and she is here to talk to us about Home Direct, which is a service helping horses find new homes.
Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to be talking about our Home Direct scheme. But before I expand on the service, I want to give you an overview of where Blue Cross is today. In 2024, we developed a horse strategy in response to rising equine welfare demand, which is increasing faster than the sector's ability to respond. We identified a sector gap. Privately owned horses often lack safe and reliable rehoming options through trusted welfare channels. Our approach complements rather than duplicates other charities, strengthening overall support for horses and owners. We established a clear rehoming vision and 5 strategic objectives were defined. Last year, we implemented our first objective, which I think we'll all agree is so important, is to help more horses. To do this, we needed to significantly expand our geographic reach and modernise how we deliver services. Our Home Direct scheme enables smooth home-to-home rehoming, free centre capacity for complex cases, and delivers faster welfare-led outcomes while reducing unnecessary admissions. After targeted recruitment, we now have over 30 regional volunteers who support our Home Direct checks nationally. We've also expanded our foster yard network, and currently we have 42 horses in foster homes, which increases our flexibility and resilience, allowing us to support horses requiring short to medium-term care outside of our centres. We also now have a dedicated admissions team who selects the best pathway for every horse, whether that be home direct, centre admission to one of our centres, advice or crisis livery. This ensures resources are deployed where they deliver the greatest welfare benefit, and we're now able to intake 25 horses per month into each centre. In last year's memorial talk, the importance of charities working together was highlighted. This collaboration continues today, but in a more structured and impactful way. We formalised referral pathways with World Horse Welfare, British Horse Society and Bransby, who are now directing private owners straight to us at the Blue Cross. We've also supported smaller charities like the Irish Horse Welfare Trust, Oak Tree and Hope Pastures by taking horses in when their capacity was reached at their centres. Of 448 horses admitted last year into our centres, 132 came direct from other welfare charities, freeing their resources for frontline work. The map shows the coverage across the centre of our 2 centres. These are our lovely foster homes, our dedicated off-site team, all of our volunteers, Wild Horse welfare officers that we work closely with, and all the large and small equine charities across the country. Demand for horse welfare support is an all-time high, reflecting on an ongoing widespread equine welfare issue, which has been backed up by the findings of the RSPCA Horse Sense report. These images show recent cases that have come into our centres from private homes. They illustrate the severe veterinary and welfare challenges horses face today. Most of these issues are linked to financial pressures from the cost of living crisis, plus the rise in veterinary fees, insurance issues, and as we all know this winter, the very high prices of hay and feed. These have created significant barriers for owners trying to meet basic horse welfare needs. We've also noted that behavioural issues are rising, which are often caused by the widespread practice of restricted turnout on livery yards. 1 year into delivery, the strategy is already delivering measurable impacts. We're at supporting more horses than we ever have done before. Our partnership-led approach is unlocking additional capacity across the sector, demonstrating the value of collaboration and targeted rehoming. Our length of stay is reduced due to our expertise, quicker decisions, and a wide range of horses available, allowing us to help more horses. So on to our Home Direct. We've been an established service for 10 years and we're now scaling that nationally, plus working with other charities to offer our HD service. So the horse is in the current home, their owner contacts us at the Blue Cross, and our team triage the horse to determine the best route for that horse. If that is to go onto the Home Direct service, the horse would undertake a Home Direct assessment by one of our team and also a health check by a vet. Then they would undertake our Blue Cross matching service, and once the best potential loanee has been chosen, they will go meet the horse. After that, new home checks would take place and the horse would move to his new home. So we found many reasons for people using our Home Direct scheme. One being the health of the owner who can now no longer look after the horse, financial reasons that I've mentioned before. Very often horses can no longer be ridden and they want them to remain a companion and not resold. Lack of yards to ensure welfare standards are being met, and older horses retiring from RDA colleges or riding schools, but also retirement of people downsizing and selling their land. There's a lot of benefits to our Home Direct scheme. One is safeguarding the horse's future. It provides an expert, non-judgmental support. Really importantly, less moves for the horse is a lot less stress and stress to the owner. And ongoing advice to help the horse settle into his new home and ongoing through the loan period. By intervening earlier, we prevent welfare deterioration and reduce the risk of unsafe horse sales. We have a couple of case studies I'd like to bring forward to you. Alfie the bay horse, his owner, contacted the Blue Cross seeking support to rehome him, finding the decision emotionally difficult. Through Home Direct, Alfie remained at home and was matched within an hour of advertising and moved to his new home very quickly. This case study shows Home Direct delivers fast welfare-led outcomes. supporting owners through tough decisions and avoiding unnecessary centre admissions. The owner said it made a very difficult decision easier, and the new loaner reported a smooth process with a happy, settled horse. Doris the Piebald was referred by the Irish Horse Welfare Trust after a UK loaner showed interest online. Despite cross-border complexities, a flexible home direct approach ensured full welfare checks, including passporting and microchipping. She travelled from Ireland to her new home with quarantine arranged on arrival. Her latest health check confirmed she's thriving, showing how home direct can safely succeed across borders. And finally, our very famous Elton John. Elton John arrived at Blue Cross Centre in poor condition from a private home. After castration and recovery, he was rehomed on loan to an equine college as a companion pony and later transferred permanently. As he matured, his needs changed and the college responsibly returned to the Blue Cross for support. Elton was placed directly onto the Home Direct scheme, and within 2 weeks he moved to his new home with younger, more suitable companions to play with. This case highlights the flexibility of our rehoming service and our long-term commitment to every Blue Cross. While Elton shows you how happy he is in his new home, we'd welcome your support in sharing information about Home Direct through your networks so more owners can access help before reaching crisis point. Thank you.
Elton doing a fantastic job there of highlighting the great work being done. Our next speaker is Cheryl Johns, founder of LiveryList and the Yard Owner Hub. And as we can't avoid talking about cost of living, Cheryl is looking inside the numbers at livery pricing survey results.
Good afternoon, Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to present this afternoon on a recent survey that was carried out and some insights into the livery industry at present. LiveryList is a dedicated platform for yard owners and managers. I've worked for a number of years with this sector of the industry alongside these business owners, as well as equestrian organisations and associations, including welfare charities and BE member bodies, to help increase awareness of compliance, value and standards across this sector of the industry. Day to day, I work with a large community of yard managers and owners, and therefore understand the trends and challenges that they face at any given time. Over the last 2 to 3 years, costings have been a major concern, especially over viability of their businesses. Since COVID, the cost of living crisis, increases in the national minimum wage, and as we've already heard again today, increases in forage costs and availability, these increases provide a major concern for these business owners. In recent times, it's seen many yards closed down due to being financially unsustainable. Many livery yard owners are in it for the love of horses. They are not business people. Therefore, many of them struggle with the concept of pricing, and there are regular queries on my community with regards to costings, how to implement price increases, and simply just asking, what should I charge? This led me to conduct the Livery Pricing Survey 2025. This was to help provide a benchmark for current livery prices and help yard owners and managers understand where they may fit within the current market. This was conducted in December 2025. I also did a similar one in 2023, and this was a larger version of it. This survey was over a 3-week duration and specifically targeted to yard owners and managers. I included 11 livery types within the survey, as well as other questions relating to costing, and we received 768 responses from 81 counties of the UK. There were understandably lots of figures, and I didn't want to bore you all with lots of graphs and numbers, so I've pulled out a selection for demonstrative purposes. If we look at the first one, you'll see this relates to DIY livery and assisted DIY. I'm sure that many of you know, but I'll just give a quick rundown. DIY is basically the most basic and simple form of livery available to horse owners, where you're generally provided with a stable and grazing. And the assisted DIY livery, you will have a very small amount of help from the yard each day in terms of the care of the horse. So it may be turn out each morning, for example. The DIY livery, the median price of that is £200 per calendar month, which works out to roughly £46 per week. And the assisted DIY is obviously understandably slightly more, with a median of £295 per calendar month, which is roughly £68 per week. Remembering also that this is one of the, or generally the cheapest option of horse keeping for those owners that need livery. You will see that there's a large scope of difference between the minimum and maximum. So if we look at the DIY livery, some yards are charging as little as £75 per calendar month for livery, and some reported that they charge as much as £500 per calendar month. This was a trend across all of the livery categories, with a very wide variation between the minimums and maximums, showing that no one box fits all when it comes to livery pricing. If we move on to the other end of the spectrum, so full livery, I split this into ridden and non-ridden. I did not include within this category schooling, competition, breaking and training livery, because I think they bring a slightly different skill set and therefore have a slightly higher value, so they were within their own categories. This therefore covers full livery, which again I'm sure you all know is generally a fully serviced package where the yard is responsible for the day-to-day care and management of the horse, and generally includes things like bedding, forage and feed. The ridden one on this basis includes just general exercise of that horse. You'll see here that, again, understandably, the full livery is a lot higher price, with a median of £600 per month. That's roughly £138 per week. And the ridden full livery, almost half as much, again, at nearly £900 per month, roughly £207 per week. You'll see again here that there's a large difference between the minimum and maximum that yards said that they charge, and there's a slightly wider scope on this, obviously because of the inclusions. There is a much wider range of costing differences. Across all livery types, there will obviously be differences. For example, some assisted DIY included forage, some didn't, but generally the survey was based upon standardised expectations within these livery packages. So you would have a standard generally that you would expect, for example, for DIY, part livery, full livery, so on and so forth. So there are still these expectations, which raises questions as to what leads to the disparity with the large differences between these highest and lowest prices. One of the most interesting results that I found when going through this was, if we take the full livery results as an example, over the course of 12 months, there's a representative difference of £20,000 separating the highest and lowest prices. Bearing in mind this is for one horse owner, just over the course of 12 months for the same livery package. It's also interesting that I forgot to mention on the last slide that some yards actually charge as little for full livery as some charge for DIY livery, showing the scope of differences in the fees available to horse owners. You can also see on this that there was an average 19% increase in prices since my 2023 survey, which shows a positive increase. That was across all livery categories. Over 2/3 of yards say that they've increased their prices in the last 12 months, and 80% forecast another increase within the next 12 months. This shows why pricing alone can influence horse owners in their yard choice without necessarily considering other factors. It also demonstrates a proactive response to increases in operational costs, and many also stated in the survey that they've changed their business model, such as reducing or restricting things like forage that they include to help keep their operational costs down. So what are the obvious factors when it comes to these differences in pricing? Location, region is a big factor. I did break the results down into regions of the UK for those that want to view the full livery results. The size of the yard, the facilities, services and inclusions, business operations and operating costs will obviously all have a large effect. But now on to the hidden factors. These are the factors that both yard owners and horse owners perhaps consider less when it comes to considering the financial value of the provisions of livery. So you're looking at the yard manager and staff, welfare standards, financial compliance, legal compliance, and the client experience, that is of the human client. There's also a lack of governance in the industry. At the moment, there's no licensing, no dedicated regulatory body, and no mandatory inspections, which means it's fairly inconsistent across the board. And it also means, as it stands at the moment, anybody can open a livery yard and operate as they so wish. Some of the examples are employment obligations, such as paying the national minimum wage, being appropriately insured, the yards that do or don't pay business rates, biosecurity protocols that they may have in place, the quantity but also the quality of consumables, so that may be the feed, forage, bedding, All of these have a major effect on the operating costs, which are then passed on to the horse owner. Yards who don't meet the expected standards when it comes to these areas and more can compromise the health and welfare of equines in their care. These yards who don't operate meeting the industry standards also undermine and undervalue those who do. So what do the differences tell us? There's a wide variation of pricing across the industry, but in theory there are yards available for all budgets within categories. However, this could lead to wide variations in standards. There are multiple factors that affect operating costs and multiple factors that affect the value that both horse owners and yard owners place upon the operation of yards. Therefore, due diligence must be done when horse owners are choosing a yard. Many existing industry bodies and schemes don't cover all the bases, and at the moment, the business owners feel a lack of support and guidance. It's important for the industry to react to the challenges that they face and the support that they need. For many years, I've been on a one-woman mission to represent and support yard owners and managers, including the development of initiatives such as the Yard Owner Hub and Yardwise through LiveryList, which help try to future-proof this industry for the business owners and the horse owners. These initiatives help bridge the gap, but the industry as a whole needs to consider what systems, regulations and support can be put in place to better support the future of livery yards. This must cover all areas, including welfare, business support, compliance, employment, financial viability, and legal and moral obligations. This is a challenging industry, and without change, it will only get harder. More yards will close, and there will be limited options for quality, affordable livery for horse owners. On that, we also need to support and educate the horse owners to understand the expected standards and the questions they should be asking when they're seeking a new yard to ensure that they find somewhere safe, suitable, and compliant to keep their horse, rather than simply making a choice based on the cost. We all know the social value of equestrianism, the communities it supports, and the joy it brings. And most importantly, it is vital to keep equestrianism and horse ownership safe, accessible, and affordable for all. There's a link shown here for those that would like to go to the full livery pricing survey, which, as I say, breaks down multiple types of livery categories, as well as some other factors in relation to the costs. And thank you again for your attention this afternoon.